JonBenet Patricia Ramsey was born on August 6, 1990 in Atlanta, Georgia, into a family of privilege. Her father, John Ramsey, was a successful businessman who headed Access Graphics, a multi-million-dollar computer services company, while her mother, Patty Ramsey, was a former beauty queen and public figure. Growing up, JonBenet was exposed to a life of luxury, love, and attention, which was reflected in her vibrant, charismatic personality. She was the youngest of 3 siblings, with an older brother, Burke Ramsey, and 2 half-siblings from her father's previous marriage. Her family's wealth and prominence in the Boulder, Colorado community gave JonBenet a secure and nurturing childhood, but this idyllic life was shattered when she became the victim of one of the most high-profile and tragic crimes in American history. JonBenet's childhood and pageant career. JonBenet was a confident and outgoing child with an infectious smile and a natural affinity for the spotlight. By the time she was 6 years old, she had already participated in numerous child beauty pageants, where she won multiple titles for her charm, poise, and talent. The pageant circuit became a significant part of JonBenet's life, where she wore elaborate costumes and sparkled on stage. Despite the glitz and glamour of the pageant world, JonBenet was also a regular kindergartner at High Peaks Elementary School in Boulder, where she thrived in her studies and made friends easily. She was a typical young girl, full of curiosity and energy, loved by those who knew her, with her boundless joy radiating wherever she went. Tragically, this childhood innocence came to a devastating halt in December 1996. The discovery of JonBenet's disappearance. On December the 26th, 1996, the Ramsey family's world turned upside down. That morning, JonBenet's mother, Patty Ramsey, discovered a handwritten ransom note on the stairs of their home. The note, which demanded a sum of $118,000, a figure eerily close to John Ramsey's year-end bonus, was the first sign that something was terribly wrong. In an instant, Patty realized her daughter was missing. Panic set in, and the family immediately contacted the police. The ransom note and the unsettling circumstances set off a series of investigations, but within hours, the situation took an even more tragic turn. That afternoon, JonBenet's father, John Ramsey, found his daughter's lifeless body in the basement of their home. She had suffered severe trauma, including a fractured skull and strangulation. The investigation and the crime scene errors, JonBenet's death quickly became the focus of a nationwide investigation. The forensic evidence revealed that she had been sexually assaulted and strangled. Though there was no definitive proof of rape, the official cause of death was asphyxia caused by strangulation and blunt force trauma to the head. Despite the grim findings, the investigation was riddled with missteps that compromised the integrity of the evidence and the potential for solving the case. From the outset, the police assumed that JonBenet had been kidnapped rather than considering the possibility of a violent crime within the home. This assumption led to critical mistakes, including the failure to secure the entire house as a crime scene. Family members and others were allowed to move freely throughout the home, potentially contaminating the evidence. The flawed handling of the case. Another significant error was the decision to allow JonBenet's parents, John and Patty Ramsey, to be interviewed together rather than separately. Proper investigative protocol calls for questioning individuals separately, especially in cases involving potential suspects, to avoid collusion or influencing each other's statements. This joint interview may have compromised the reliability of their accounts. Furthermore, the infamous ransom note left at the scene added layers of mystery to the case. The note's unusual length, coupled with the fact that it was written on paper found in the Ramsey home, led some to believe it could have been staged. Additionally, forensic analysis revealed that fibers from the duct tape used on JonBenet's body matched fibers found on Patty Ramsey's clothing, adding yet another layer of suspicion. DNA evidence and the shifting focus. In 1998, DNA tests conducted on evidence recovered from the crime scene revealed no connection to any of the Ramsey family members. This finding shifted some of the focus away from John and Patty Ramsey as suspects, but it also left investigators without a clear alternative theory. The DNA results raised the possibility that an unknown intruder could have been responsible for the crime, though no concrete evidence was found to support this. The case remained unsolved, and public speculation continued to swirl around the Ramsey family. In 1999, the Boulder County grand jury voted to indict the parents, but the district attorney decided against pressing charges, citing insufficient evidence. This decision sparked controversy and fueled public distrust in the legal proceedings. The revelation of a new suspect. The case remained in limbo for years, with no clear answers and no resolution. In 2003, advances in DNA technology led to a significant breakthrough. DNA samples taken from JonBenet's clothing and the crime scene were matched to an unknown male. This discovery suggested that a stranger, unrelated to the Ramsey family, could have been responsible for the murder. This revelation led to renewed scrutiny of the case and a reevaluation of the evidence. Following the DNA discovery, the Boulder Police Department publicly apologized to John and Patty Ramsey, effectively clearing their names in the eyes of the law. However, the damage to their reputations had already been done, and they sought justice by filing defamation lawsuits against media outlets that had wrongfully accused them. Burke Ramsey's long silence. For nearly 3 decades, JonBenet's older brother, Burke Ramsey, remained silent. The young boy, who had been just 9 years old when his sister was murdered, grew up under the shadow of public suspicion and media scrutiny. Throughout the years, Burke avoided the media, never publicly addressing the case or the allegations that often centered around him. His silence only fueled speculation and conspiracy theories. However, in a shocking turn of events, Burke Ramsey recently broke his long-held silence, speaking out publicly for the first time in 28 years. His decision to speak has triggered a renewed interest in the case and added a new, deeply human layer to the ongoing mystery. Burke Ramsey speaks out. Now, a grown man in his late 30s, Burke's decision to speak about his sister's murder has brought mixed reactions from the public. In his interview, Burke reflected on the emotional toll the tragedy had on him. He spoke candidly about the deep pain of losing his sister and growing up in the public eye under a cloud of suspicion. His account paints a picture of a childhood forever altered by grief, fear, and the constant judgment of others. Burke also expressed frustration with how the investigation was handled, criticizing the mishandling of evidence, the joint interviews with his parents, and the failure to secure the crime scene properly. Burke Ramsey's call for justice. Perhaps most notably, Burke expressed his desire for justice for his sister. He voiced his frustration that after all these years, the truth has yet to be uncovered. He called for a renewed investigation, one that utilizes modern forensic technology, including advanced DNA testing, to re-examine the evidence. Burke also spoke with compassion for his parents, who endured immense emotional distress and public accusations during the investigation. He defended their actions in the aftermath of the crime, explaining that they were in no state to think clearly, devastated by the loss of their daughter while simultaneously being scrutinized by the media. A new chapter in the case. Burke Ramsey's decision to speak out has reignited public interest in the case and sparked renewed calls for further investigation. True crime communities and legal experts have been dissecting his statements, hoping to uncover new clues that might finally lead to the truth. While Burke's testimony does not provide definitive answers, it adds a powerful human element to a case that has often been reduced to sensational tabloid headlines. After 28 years of silence, Burke Ramsey's voice has been heard, and the world is now listening, hoping that this new chapter in the case will finally bring the closure and justice that JonBenet's memory deserves.